Have you ever wondered what it takes to work in the financial management world? Today, I am with David Elder, who is a wealth manager at Merit Financial Advisors. In his words, he helps people make wise decisions with their money. A lot of it is so they can retire or sell a business. So, welcome to my library. Have a seat, sit down, relax, and listen in because we have a great conversation for you. So, David, tell me, what is the coolest skill you learned that you never thought would matter, but absolutely does?
Well, absolutely. In my field, it's empathy. You think so often it's mathematics and can I show you a better result on a spreadsheet? But so often it's that life planning stuff that requires empathy of what are they really going to implement? What's going to be important? What can make them feel good? And you mentioned earlier selling a business, something like that. So much of, and this is important for kids to learn early on when they're learning about money, so much of money is emotion.
Yes.
And that emotional side of it drives your decision making in adulthood. And unless you approach people where they are, you really can't help them move forward.
Love that. So, real quick, what are three words that you would use to describe yourself to a complete stranger?
Creative, caring, and diligent.
Yeah. And this one's one of my favorite that I get asked often. What is a skill that you wish you could go back and hand to your 12-year-old self?
I would absolutely be a better reader. Spend more time reading both recreationally as well as studying and things for school. I was always one of those students that would use the audiobook when I can, or, let's be honest, Cliff Notes. And the older I've become, the more important reading has been, and the difference of actually holding a book versus just looking at a screen all day, which, of course, at work now, I mean, the majority of my day is spent reading. Even my communication with other people, it's a lot of reading. So absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's so, so important. So I'm glad you pointed that out because regardless of what kind of job you do, you are going to have to be reading something.
Well, and in my field, the way you write to people, which is connected to reading, you become a better writer, in my opinion, by reading
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. You can make it sound so cold or so warm and send the same message. And when you're delivering messages about people's money, that's really important. You want to write that, in a way, again, that relates to them and not just reporting simple data.
Yeah, yeah, and the one thing I've learned and, I'm an adult, I've been reading for forever, it seems like. I still need to, build out my vocabulary. I get to
Yes.
these points where I get in this rut, and I'm saying the same words all the time, and that's one great thing that reading does for you is it builds your vocabulary. Even as an old person, you still have to do that.
Smart. Yes.
Yeah. So, next question, what helped you more? Learning how to talk, listen, or recover after messing up?
Probably recovering after messing up. And recovering well, you need to be able to talk and you need to be able to listen to recover well. But in anything, and this is something I talk about a lot when I think about my career path, it's adaptability and that ability when situations change. And right now we're in the middle of one with AI, for example, and technology. And to the kids listening to this, a lot of them are more native with the technology than the adults, right? And so the
Mhm.
adults are learning to change all over again. And it's really cool. And so, you do mess up, but and I've shown that to clients. A lot of times they don't expect you to be perfect. They do expect you to take responsibility and do what you can, put that diligent effort first.
And so now we bring Addie into this whole equation. Addie, the character from the Charms book series that I write. And she's known for asking a lot of why questions, which, we all should, regardless of our
Yes,
age. But,
ma'am.
she's that 15-year-old inventor. So she's like, well, why does this work this way? And why does that work that way? One of her big things in book two is how to get the whole family organized. So Dr. T gives her a call and helps her with time management. You know, she asks a lot of why questions. When did curiosity change your path?
That's a great question. Actually, this is into skills I have also, but I had an undergraduate degree in music and really loved that, really thrived in it until I got to the point where I needed to actually make some money, which made me start reflecting on money differently. Yeah, I got curious and it built out so much curiosity that it became a career, really because it's more viable. Went back and went to school. That sprang out of the curiosity. And then the school I went to, Belmont University, I love their saying it's where your skills intersect the world's needs that you'll find your place. That just kind of worked out. And I think that's really where you're going to find some of these things as far as like using something you didn't really realize. And it's because that intersection is really unique for each of us. So it's your unique ability.
Yeah, yeah, and when we were talking earlier, you mentioned how music and math are so related to each other, and I
Very
think
much.
that's yeah, such an important thing, and with your music background,
So
I
I
mean,
think
you're
an
showing it.
important experience I had on that felt very musical was one time I made a mistake on a take home exam and didn't realize that they'd given us a formula sheet. And we'd learned enough in the class where if they didn't give us a formula sheet, we could kind of figure it out. But with the formula sheet, it made the take home test a lot easier. And I spent hours trying to figure out these formulas. And no joke, it felt a lot like spending hours composing a piece of music as far as the
Mhm.
parts of my brain and the way that it connected things. And this variable does this, how does this do? And at that point, I really saw it as this diverse and different way of organizing variables.
Absolutely. So, what skill and I love this question, what skill helped you say yes or no at the right time?
Gosh, that's a very hard question. I would say my faith. I would say that that's the thing that I believe really gets me that down in my gut, kind of true self, maybe me in relation with my higher power and knowing the right path. Because when you get off course there, even if you're making money, it feels wrong. Even
Mhm.
if you're having success, it feels wrong. And when you get back there and it feels right, sometimes that will slow you down. Over here we had the blessing of going to Puerto Rico and walking at this labyrinth by the beach where it's all meant to slow you down, right? While you think and ponder about it. That's
Yeah, yeah, and, one thing we always need to remember is it's not always easy to do the right thing, so taking that right path can be slower, but it's the right thing, so
well, in the time you don't, sometimes you think you're moving ahead and then something bad will happen. You just get this awful pit in your stomach of, oh my gosh, I could have done this differently. And you don't want that feeling. That's where regret comes from. And the older you get, the wiser you get at avoiding future.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for being on the show with us, David, and thank you for watching Books That Build Skills. If today's story sparked an idea, gave you courage, or helped you see what's possible, then it did its job. Remember, skills aren't born, they are built. One choice, one challenge, one brave step at a time. So hit subscribe, share this with someone who needs it, and keep exploring, building, reading, and dreaming big. I'm Loxley Brown. This is Books That Build Skills, and you're just getting started.